Yo, what's good? Talking football with Crombie is back. It's Halloween. I'm excited. I changed up some things about the show. I hope you guys like the new aesthetics. But without further ado, let's get into week 8. So let's talk about the number one game to watch this week. And I had a tough time with this one. There are some really good matchups this week, but 49ers versus the Seahawks has to be one of the most anticipated games this year, and let me tell you why. Let's start off with this photo. This is a photo of 49ers defense stopping the Seahawks on not even the 1 yard line. This guy, Hollister, is within inches of the end zone. And the 49ers, they would shut the door, send Russell Wilson home, and go on their way to what would be a Super Bowl run and eventually a Super Bowl. So when I think about this matchup, it's really tough to call. Jimmy G, Russell Wilson, they played great this year. Russell Wilson has done so without a defense, and the 49ers, they've had injuries at almost every level on both offense and defense. But in this matchup, I'm going with the Seahawks. And the second game to watch this week, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is, in my opinion, one of the biggest rivalries in football. But these quarterbacks, they're playing very similar. Both have a 99 passer rating. Both are throwing for a little bit less than 250 yards per game. And then on the defensive side, the Steelers are giving up about 19 points per game, while the Baltimore Ravens give up about 17. But when it comes to the offensive scoring, Baltimore scores about 29, Pittsburgh about 30. These teams match up very well. John Harbaugh is also 10-2 coming off of a bye and 1-0 against the Pittsburgh Steelers when coming off of that bye. This game is going to be a game of chess. And when I say chess, I mean on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen that these two teams, Pittsburgh having the number one overall defense and Baltimore having the number one scoring defense, have played very well against their opponents on the defensive side. But history does prove that the number one overall defense wins these games. Pittsburgh currently leads the series 28-24 all time. But I think that Baltimore, they find a way off the bye to get a win on the Steelers. Third most watched game is the New Orleans Saints versus the Chicago Bears. The last time these two teams played, it was Teddy Bridgewater versus Mitch Trubisky. This time, it's Super Bowl MVP versus Super Bowl MVP. Drew Brees versus Nick Foles. The Bears are the only team above 500 that score less than 20 points per game. All the other teams in the NFL are 7-26. In the last 4 games against the Bears, Drew Brees has 8 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And I would say that the Saints have owned the Bears as of late, because the last time the Bears, they beat New Orleans at home was in 2008. And the Bears haven't beat the Saints in New Orleans since 2005. So I think the Saints have the Bears number. I'm also a little bit concerned about Allen Robinson. I believe that he did pass concussion protocol, but I just don't think Chicago has enough weapons to keep up with Drew Brees. I know Michael Thomas is going to be out, but I still feel like the Saints, I know Drew Brees going outside of a dome, he's playing outdoors. It makes me a little bit nervous, but I just feel more comfortable with Sean Payton over Matt Nagy, so I'm going with that. And the Saints, let's go Saints. The number 4 game to watch, the Minnesota Vikings versus the Green Bay Packers. These teams were on opposite playing fields. But this time, the Vikings, they're coming off a bye. They've seen Green Bay's offense over the past 6 weeks, And this time, they get another crack at him. And their rookie, Justin Jefferson, he didn't have a huge game against the Packers. I expect that to turn around this time. And the Vikings, they're on pace to give up the most points and the most yards in the history of the franchise. Yikes. I'm going with the Packers at home against the Vikings. I think they get a huge win, but I think this game is going to be close. I say a huge win because you want to beat, people in your division. This is a rivalry game. But I think Aaron Rodgers does what Aaron Rodgers does, and he puts on a show. It's going to be lights out. Go Packers. And the fifth and final top game to watch is the Raiders versus the Cleveland Browns. Yes, that's right. The Cleveland Browns are right now in playoff position. I can't believe I'm even saying it. But the Raiders, they want in. But how is this one going to play out? One concern that I have is that the Raiders, they're going to air it out. Derek Carr is not afraid to let it rip, and he's got some speedsters on the outside that can get it done. But then on the Cleveland side, Baker Mayfield loses OBJ, but the stats show that he's better without Odell on the field. Mind-boggling to me. We've seen Baker Mayfield only play good against bad teams, teams below 500. The Raiders come in and they're right at 500. What does that mean for Baker? I really think this game is a toss-up. It really is. It's going to depend on whose offense can get started early and often. It's hard to take the Browns here. It's hard to take the Raiders here. I'm going with Derek Carr and the Raiders. I think that John Gruden has this team pumped up. They still have blood in their mouth from last week. They're coming in and their back is against the wall. Go Raiders. All right, so let's talk about the rest of the picks. New England versus Buffalo. I got Buffalo. New England, they look terrible without Tom Brady. Somebody said something earlier this week that Tom Brady made everything look good. I just don't see Cam. He doesn't seem like he has the juice. I'm going with Buffalo. Rams versus Miami. This is actually a very interesting game because everybody's been talking about the Rams defense, but Miami's defense has been lighting it up. And I'm actually going to go with the Dolphins here. Yes, I know what we saw with the Rams against the Bears, but I'm interested in the Tua experience. I can't wait to get to it. Get it? No, too soon. Whatever. I'm going with Miami. Tennessee versus Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati, and not because I actually love them, but I think Joe Burrow is amazing. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I hate that he's in the AFC North, but that's neither here nor there. But Tennessee's coming off a tough loss to Pittsburgh last week where they missed a field goal that would have tied a game to potentially take it into an overtime. I'm going with Tennessee. I think Derrick Henry runs all over the Cincinnati. He's going to run all over Ohio in general. The man just runs. Go Derrick. I got Tennessee. New York Jets versus Kansas City. I'm not even going to talk about why Kansas City's going to win. I think we all know why Kansas City's going to win. The Jets are 0-7. That tells you who I'm picking, not the Jets. Adam Gase still has a job. I'm not sure why. Kansas City's going to win this game. I think Le'Veon Bell shows the Jets how much of an asset he is to a team versus what they were doing for him when he was with the Jets. So expect Le'Veon Bell to have a great game. I think Andy Reid is going to scheme him up in the way that Adam Gase couldn't even fathom. But we'll move on. Indianapolis versus Detroit. What's really interesting about this game is that a lot of people have Indianapolis winning in Detroit. Detroit is 3-3, and I think Indianapolis is coming in at 4-2. Great. But the teams that the Colts have beat are a combined 1-7 or something like that. They haven't beat good teams. Detroit, on the other hand, they beat Their 3 losses that they have come from the New Orleans Saints, the Chicago Bears, and somebody else that I can't think of. Either way, I'm going with Detroit. I'm going with Detroit here. I feel like they're going to get the win. Chargers versus the Broncos. This game is interesting to me because I don't really like when teams are from like a beach area and have great weather, and then they go to a place like Denver where it's snowing and it's freezing. I don't like the matchup. I went with the Chargers here. I'm really actually excited about Justin Herbert. He's been a better quarterback than I think many expected. I know Anthony Lynn is ecstatic to be able to have picked right. I think he is their franchise quarterback. I don't think Drew Lock and Noah Fant and the rest of the Denver team is just going to have enough to keep up with your Keenan Allen, your Mike Williams, your Hunter Henry. So I think the Chargers come up big in this one. I think this will be a really good game. I think this will be a game that a lot of people overlook. But the Chargers, they've lost a lot of games that were, one possession. So I expect them to start to get some of those wins. I love what they're doing. So I'm going with the Chargers. Dallas versus Philadelphia. This was an easy one for me. Dallas is on their 3rd string quarterback. Philadelphia is getting healthy. Dallas's defense, we're still looking for where the defense is because the defense is not existent. I'm going with Philly. Carson Wentz has not been great in the first 3 quarters of games, but in the 4th quarter of games, Carson Wentz knows how to turn it on. I don't think that the Cowboys will even be able to score. I just think this Philadelphia defense is going to be too much for the O-line that is not good for the Cowboys right now. I think Fletcher Cox is going to get after people. And overall, Philly wins this game big. It might be 30-3. I don't know. I think this has got to be the biggest spread versus the Jets and Kansas City. We're going Philly. And then last but not least, Tampa Bay versus the Giants. You got Tom Brady versus Daniel Jones. This is an easy one. I'm going with Tampa Bay. Their defense has been playing phenomenal. They are in win-now mode. Tom Brady's on the other side of 40. He doesn't have time for the team to start acquiring talent. They got to do it now. They just got Antonio Brown. Even though he's not playing this game, he will be eligible to play next week. Either way, with Antonio Brown, without Antonio Brown, without Chris Godwin, Tampa Bay beats the Giants easily. These are my picks. Teams that are thinking about a Super Bowl. Starting off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who traded for Steve McLendon from the Jets. And the Jets, they wouldn't be done trading because then they would send Jordan Willis to the 49ers, who need help on defense. And then Minnesota got into the party, trading Yannick Ngakoue to the Baltimore Ravens. And then the Giants, they traded Marcus Golden. Tampa Bay, then they pick up Antonio Brown to add to that wide receiving core. And Cincinnati, they would then trade Carlos Dunlap to the Seattle Seahawks that need all the help they can get on defense. And before the season's over, the Cowboys have already gotten rid of all of the veterans they acquired. They sent Everson Griffin to Detroit. This episode has been nuts. We've talked about the best quarterbacks. We've talked about the best offenses. But really, my audience, you all are the best. I appreciate everybody for tuning in this week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And we'll be back for week number 9 next Saturday. Thanks. Turn up.
Silly talk. You know I'm on walk. Yeah. I got a mask and the main attraction. Yeah. I run it up like Lamar Jackson. Yeah. You think I'm a lame, I don't say much. But I'm hanging out the window, I'ma spray much. Yeah. Niggas wanna go to war with a battle. Oh Lord, I'ma have to.